Just want to welcome you all here into this session, and just to give a thank you to Dan Poltawski. Again, many of you will know Dan, and who's been working with Moodle both in England, and he's now working at the Moodle headquarters as one of the three integrators, I think it is, or four integrators for the Moodle core. So certainly involved in the whole project and definitely knows his stuff. So just like to thank Dan for actually spending his time sharing with us today, and I'll hand over to him.
Thanks, Shane. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good, Dan. Just speak up a little bit. You should be good.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming to the presentation. Apologies in advance because I've got a bit of a cold and I might be coughing at you a little bit. So a little bit about me. I'm Dan Poltawski. I've been working with Moodle since 2005. I was working in the UK as a company called Lunds, who were providing Moodle services for schools and universities and businesses in the UK. And so in 2006, I submitted some of my first patches to Moodle in the tracker, and shortly after submitting that patch, Martin Duganis saw the code, said it made sense, and got Petter Skoda to review it. Petter accepted the patch, and the rest is history. Now I'm working in Perth for Moodle HQ. I work on Moodle full time as an integrator and developer. But I also like to drink beer, and I'm in a constant state of shock of the price of beer in Perth. So I was just wondering if you could tell me how much a price of beer is in your in your country, if you know it. Say it in the chat just to say hello. Oh, you're not all in Perth. That's no fun. Anyway, there's a Quora thread I've linked there, trying to work out if there's anywhere more expensive in the world to drink beer. So apart from drinking beer, I'm also part of the integration team at Moodle HQ, and that's part of the reason for doing this presentation today. I need to stop paying attention to the beer conversation. The integration team, as Shane was saying, it's a group of four of us at the moment who are like the final gatekeepers for deciding which code gets into Moodle, and so we kind of do the final checks before everything goes into the release, and we try and bring together different developers to share knowledge around Moodle code and decide which bring in the whole community's point of view. And I'm not explaining myself very well here. So yeah, well, move on. So how to guarantee that your change is integrated into Moodle core? Well, I'm afraid the bad news is you can't. I'm sorry for enticing you into this presentation with that title, but in Moodle we're supporting a very wide and diverse community, and that there is no magic solution to guarantee that your change can get into the core. we're building a platform with core tools, and we in HQ we just don't have the resources to maintain every feature that anyone could ever think of and integrate into Moodle. But having said that, the direction that we're moving Moodle into is a platform which supports, a diverse range of plugins and tries to facilitate customization from organizations in that way. And we'll continue to make Moodle into a platform that supports that mechanism. So just for example, in the most recent version of Moodle, we've made it easier to install third-party plugins from the Moodle plugins directory. I was going to show you a little demo of this. So let's start the screen sharing. Give me a second. Can you see the screen that I'm sharing okay? Great. So this is Moodle 2.5, just released last week, or was it the week before? Time's getting away from me. And now we have this big button included in Moodle that says install add-ons from the plugins directory. So I'll click that button and it'll send me over to moodle.org, where I need to log in. Okay, so we can search for any plugin on the plugins directory. I'm going to talk a little bit about the code checker plugin later, so I'll search for that. It's a plugin maintained by Moodle HQ, and we have this install button now right within the plugins directory. I just click that button. It will send me back to my Moodle site. Ask me if I want to install this plugin. EDC team, yes, it is just as easy to uninstall a plugin. I'll show you that in a second. Although I have to say there's some limitations. There's some plugins which haven't been converted to this mechanism yet, which do need to be, which you have to remove the code afterwards. One of the bugs that's still open. And well, I'm waiting for this plugin to be, there we go. So it just downloaded the plugin from moodle.org. It does some validation checks, and we click install add-on. And then we go through the normal Moodle install process. And then I know that this installs the code checker here in the development menu. And we've got a problem with that. So to uninstall the plugin, you can go to the plugins overview. Michelle, it depends on whether the the third party have disabled this function or not. A lot of Moodle partners are likely to be disabling it because they want to control which plugins are installed and reduce their support burden. Yeah, and make some money too, but that money eventually goes into paying me so to work on Moodle. What I was going to show you, the code checker to uninstall it. There's an uninstall button here. Do that. Move everything. That plugin. I'm in another situation there. That's one of the plugins which isn't uninstalling itself correctly. Okay. If you're using Git, it will add the plugin in place on top of the Git repository. So it will look as though it'll look as though there's some files that are untracked. So I'm not really sure what you want to know about that, Teresa. It won't be managed in Git, is the summary. Okay, so having said that you can't guarantee that your change will get into core, and sort of warning you off, why would you want to contribute anything to core? Well, one major reason is, has someone got their microphone switched on? One major reason is that you can't fix core bugs in plugins. So if it's a bug in Moodle, we love to receive your fixes. We've got quite a lot of bugs in the tracker, and we appreciate any help that we can get. And to be honest, getting a bug fix integrated into Moodle core isn't quite as difficult as a new feature, like fixing a bug. The bug shouldn't be there, so it's not so controversial. The other reason might be that there's no plugin points. So there's no way to achieve what you want using a plugin. So you may contribute to us to make a way to create plugins so that you don't have to customize the core of Moodle. Or you could be confident that the Moodle community will be on board. I'd say that's quite a brave decision. It's also very rewarding. Like I say, I've come from the background of working on core bugs as a contributor, and it's really amazing to work on something that so many people are using around the world, and I'm always bumping into people who I wouldn't expect to be using Moodle, but they are, like old school friends and things like that, and so it's a great software project to be involved with. And I also love core contributors because they're reducing the work that we're having to do in Moodle core. And what I tend to see happening is for each new core contributor we get in Moodle, they continue to help out fixing more bugs on each release. And on the right here is a little graph of non-Moodle HQ contributors to the Moodle releases since Moodle 2.1. So in Moodle 2.1 we had 28 non-Moodle HQ developers, then 2.2, 51, 2.3, 75, 2.4, 84, and this last release, 2.5 last week, we've got 93 contributors. So that's helping to help Moodle HQ get on top of bugs and, you know, get fixes that are important to your institution fixed in Moodle Core. So you're too put off. Yeah. So from my experience as a integrator at Moodle HQ, I'm just going through some bits and pieces which can increase your chances of success submitting your code to Moodle. It's not exhaustive. It's and I've probably missed quite a lot of things. So number one, the process. So the process for fixing bugs in Moodle, it's the same for everyone. It's the same for Moodle HQ, a Moodle partner, or anyone who's just come from the community. It's thorough and quite complex. As you can see from that diagram, it's doesn't look so straightforward, but you don't need to be too concerned by the complexity of it. The simplified version is that you make the code available for your contribution as a Git branch, and then we go through multiple rounds of code review, and then the code is pulled into the main Moodle repository, then tested, and if tested, the change is deployed. So to follow along with this diagram, so we start with a Moodle issue, which is open, and then the developer starts work on it. Once they're happy with what they've done, they can then request a peer review, and then the issue will go into waiting for peer review. Okay, yeah. And so the peer reviewer will look at the code, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. And then once he's happy with it, we'll send it to integration review. Integration review is the list of things that are about to be decided whether they will go into Moodle release. And that's the work that I'm doing each week, reviewing code from around the community, integrating it. So we'll look at the code and decide whether it's suitable for Moodle, and if so, we'll integrate it and then send it for testing. Then the issue is waiting for testing from the testing team at Moodle HQ, and they will generally test issues every Wednesday, and then once we've tested those issues, if no problems are found, it's closed and it's sent into the release. So as a contributor, the thing that you need to be aware of is there are various states which Moodle HQ will look at code in the tracker and review your code and then take it as a candidate for including into Moodle. So the first one is waiting for peer review. That's where you're saying, I've got some code here and it's ready for review. And then if the peer reviewer likes it, then they'll submit it for integration review. And then the other thing to consider is that at each of these stages, we may be asking you questions about your code, or in testing we might find a problem. Now, if we find a problem in testing, we'll try to resolve it. So with that, we'll often need your help, and that's what happens most of the time. Is that we'll resolve the testing problems, and then it will get integrated. But if we don't know how to resolve the problem and you can't respond to us, then unfortunately that means we have to send it back for another round of review. So there's some pitfalls with the process. As I think you can probably tell, it's a bit daunting to start with, but don't be afraid to ask for help. A few people have written blog posts on it, and there's documentation in the Moodle docs. There's a question here, I'll just answer it. If a track has a fix, who decides when it's really ready for peer review? Well, if the person in the tracker is a Jira developer, which is a role in the tracker, which once you've contributed some code to Moodle, then we'll make you a Jira developer. And you can decide yourself to send the issue into ready for peer review. Talk a little bit about the tracker in a second. So the other problems with the process is you'll often be waiting for us, Moodle HQ, to be providing feedback to you, and also awfully in other aspects of the process, we'll be waiting for a response off you, and we'll have a time limit because when we're doing the weekly integration cycle, there's a weekly limit on the time frame. So if you don't respond to us in time, then we have to send it back to the beginning again, which is unfortunate, and it's a bit problematic because it's a bit unfair for you to be waiting on us and us not giving you a time frame, but we want you to respond in a certain time frame. We're always looking for ways to improve that situation. So that, as I was saying, the tracker is one of the sort of the key place where Moodle development takes place. It's where all developers are communicating together. It's our knowledge base. It's we link issues together, and really it's the most important place for any Moodle development. And it's important to remember that all development must start with a tracker issue. If you're posting on the forums and you post a patch on the forums, but no one is going to take any action on patches posted on the forums. So you do have to use the tracker. That's the tool that we use to manage the process of getting changes into Moodle. When you're using the tracker as a developer or as just an observer, it's really would encourage you to record your thoughts on the tracker issues. The kind of like I say, we use it as a knowledge base, and the history of how a change got into became in a certain way comes from the tracker issues. And be sure to link any relevant discussions, Moodle docs, specifications, and all that kind of thing from the tracker issue. Some things not to do with the tracker. Careful about commenting on already closed issues. It's useful to comment on a closed issue if you want to inform the people who are involved in that issue. Say, for example, you found a bug in an existing bug fix. That sometimes happens. So it's good to comment on there, but be aware that we don't progress from closed to any other state. So to resolve an issue that you've identified, you need to create a new issue and then you could link it. So there's like a follow-up issue to something that is closed in the tracker. The best thing to do is to create a new issue and link it using the tracker. And be careful about creating duplicate issues. The other thing is that, excuse me, some parts of the tracker need additional permissions. So as I was saying before, to send an issue into peer review, you need to be a Jira developer, which is a role linked from this Moodle documents page, and there's a process for requesting access to that privilege. Really, everyone, in an ideal world, everyone would be able to send their issue to waiting for peer review. But by just controlling that, it helps us stop people moving issues into the wrong states without fully understanding what they're doing. So there's a small you have to jump through. One of the most compelling things you can do to increase your chances of any code getting integrated is to gain support from the community. A proposal which has been commented on and approved by the community really gives a lot of positive points to that proposal. At Moodle HQ, we're trying to support the Moodle community, so we're working on behalf of them. So depending on the type of issue that you're doing, it may be worth creating a forum post on the Using Moodle forums. For larger proposals, we have a new forum called the Future New Features. Actually, that's not the correct name. I've forgotten the name off the top of my head. And we've also got all the various forums for the different activity modules and parts of Moodle. So posting about what you want to do is a really great way to communicate your changes. And you'll see that quite often. You can see that from Tim Hunt, the quiz maintainer. Even though he's the maintainer of the module and has quite a good idea of what will be acceptable, he does still post in the forums to propose what his changes are, and that just gives us more confidence that we're doing something that's benefiting the community. As an integrator, we're trying to decide whether this is a good change, and it's not necessarily that we or the original developer would be a good judge of that. I, for example, am not using Moodle teaching each day, so I can't be a very good judge. Be sure to consider cases other than your own. So what I mean by that is often we'll get people in a university environment who can't conceive anyone else using Moodle in a different way, say for example schools. So just be sure to consider the different Moodle environments as well. And once you've gathered support, link it off the tracker, and that's the way that we'll be sure to see it. Thanks for those links there in the chat. So pitfalls people have with gathering community support, well, they won't get any. They'll do things like bumping forum posts to get attention. And if no one's interested, that might, if no one responds, that might actually indicate that no one's interested in it. So you have to consider that. Or it might be that you might explain yourself in a clear way. The next aspect is coding style. The Moodle code base is pretty huge. We've got around 1 million lines of code, and that's been evolving for over 10 years from hundreds of developers. And with all that code and change from different developers, it can lead to chaos, and we have a bit of it in Moodle. So 3 or 4 years ago, we really improved our coding style documentation. Yes, and these pictures here, it's Tim Hunt and Andrew Nichols, two co-developers, when they were at the recent Moodle developer meeting. We locked them up for a while for not following our conventions. So there's quite a good coding style document. Having said that, not all the Moodle code has been around for quite a few years. So don't look at existing Moodle code as an example and say that doesn't match the coding style, because a lot of it doesn't, and we're trying to improve that over time, and we're becoming stricter about these things over time. So there are two plugins, the one that I showed installing earlier, Code Checker and Moodle Check. The Code Checker will check against a lot of the guidelines in the coding style, not all of them, but it's a good basis to start. But if you're modifying existing code, try and be sensible about how you modify it. It might not be sensible to make your code match the coding style. It might be better to keep it in the style of the surrounding code. The important thing is to be readable. Although sometimes we can seem like robots, we don't strictly adhere to that when it would change, it would disrupt the surrounding readability. So the most important thing is to actually conform to the coding style and run the checker. If you're writing new code, run the Moodle code checker against your code and make sure that there are no problems discovered. If you don't, it's a psychological thing. It suggests a lack of attention to detail. So don't give us the excuse. It's a pretty good document. If anything's not in that document, then it's you don't need to worry about it. So some common things that people do, they use underscores in variable names. The Moodle style is to not to use English words concatenated together without underscores for variables, and we use underscores in function names, and that's actually quite a useful readability thing. So it helps you be able to glance at what is a variable and what is a function. And people often also are not developing with debug developer set, which can, and you need that to be given developer warnings of use of deprecated functions. Code review. So as I said, there's peer review, which is the main point of code review in Moodle, and there's also integration review, which is the final check of the code. So all Moodle code is reviewed multiple times now. For Moodle 2, and including Moodle 2, code was getting committed just by the original developer. No one else was looking at it. There was no formal testing process. That led to regressions quite frequently. Sometimes it worked. I mean, it did work well for a while, but then you would often get cases where someone would change something and wouldn't realize the 10 different places that it would affect elsewhere. So now reviews are enforced, and usually at least twice code is reviewed by at least 2 people before making it into Moodle core. And the reason is that nobody knows everything. Moodle is huge, and by doing code reviews, we're able to communicate historical context and improve the quality of our code. And all reviews are good. Even your colleague in your institution, you're welcome to do code reviews on the issues, and we would encourage that. Excuse me. For the best chances of success, it's good to get someone who's experienced with the area that you're working on to review the code. For example, the component maintainer. Each area of Moodle has got someone who is related, got responsibility for that aspect of code. Also, just people who have been working on Moodle a long time can provide that historical context over and above the kind of general why you're doing it in this way sort of advice. The code review is a two-way process. Don't be afraid to challenge the reviewer. We find that in Moodle HQ because we're Moodle HQ and we're responsible for it. Sometimes people just want to comply with what we say or advise and don't sort of justify their decisions. Might be that we're sending you down the wrong path. And part of the code review process is to sort of extract from you your rationale and decision making for why you've coded something in a specific way. Another thing to realize is that in Moodle HQ, we've got developers of varying experience. I've been working on Moodle for quite a long time, but we've some developers who've only been working on Moodle for a year, so you may actually have been working on Moodle for a longer amount of time. So don't be afraid to challenge. So some pitfalls in the code review process. Can be difficult to find the peer reviewer. There's a list of issues waiting for peer review, and that list is never at 0 issues. So we do have a backlog. Try and be patient with us, and when your patience runs out, feel free to campaign politely, get a reviewer. EDC team. I can't, to be honest, I'm not a good person to comment on third-party developers. I think it is harder for some people to keep up with the releases. But on the other hand, in Moodle Core, as I said at the start of the presentation, we're trying to create a stable platform that doesn't break non-core plugins. So hopefully people are finding the work to keep up to date with each version is less and less. On the other hand, they do need to at least check with each Moodle release. But certainly, one direction that we're going in is trying our very best to keep the versions stable. Code reviewers can sometimes be critical and frank in their language. That's the important thing, is to try and not take it personally. The goal is to find the best technical solution for each issue, and some people who come across frankly, that their only goal is to produce the best Moodle release. So try and not take it personally. Cross-database support is another frequent area of problems when submitting code for integration review. Moodle supports PostgreSQL, MySQL, Oracle, and Microsoft SQL. And with all core code, we need to be working correctly on all those environments. So please test on a different environment to your own, just as something different that can find a lot of the issues. We appreciate that it's not straightforward to have all 4 different database setups in place to test against, but MySQL and PostgreSQL should be fairly straightforward, and testing against both of those will eliminate quite a lot of the problems that come up. Pay special attention when writing custom SQL queries like joins, but don't avoid it. Joins and custom SQL are necessary in modern Moodle development, and it's much better to use that than use simplified versions. You'll get better performance that way. Something to be aware of is that in core we can't rely on transactions, so you can't rely on the rollback from a transaction from occurring, and that's because we still support the MySQL storage engine, MySAMI, which doesn't roll back. It doesn't support transactions, so you have to clean up from something going wrong yourself. You can't rely on the transaction to do that. And there's just a link there called, it's a website I've seen a while ago called SQL Fiddle, which allows you to create different database schemas on different database engines, like all the ones we support, and run queries against it. I've not really used it in Anya, but it might be a useful resource. Some pitfalls that people have with cross-database compatibility: getting to use SQL compare text or SQL concat. There's various SQL underscore functions in the database driver layer, which will return the right SQL syntax for the database engine that you're using. So you need to be sure to use that. When will MyISAM support be dropped? I don't know. As developers, we would love to do it anytime, as soon as possible, because it would make our lives easier. But there's a lot of Moodle sites out there using that database engine, and it's some work to convert, and it's one of these problems we have. We want to make a robust platform, so dropping support won't be great. On the other hand, we want to don't want to break things for people. Be careful about using distinct on text columns. That won't work with Oracle. That's a common problem, not so easy to spot. And be careful about using limit clauses rather than the function parameters. If you use limit in SQL, the syntax is different, for example, between MySQL and Postgres. So the Moodle functions have two parameters. Another thing that people often do wrong is not including all the group by items in their select list, which is the difference between MySQL and Postgres, and not using placeholders for user input. The XMLDB editor. Performance. Try not and decrease performance. One of the most key things you can say in a Moodle context is database queries are one of the most expensive things that you can do. It's the actual time a query takes to run is rarely the problem, although it is sometimes. It's actually the number of queries that you do. The time it takes to send the request to the database server and send it back is one of the most limiting factors. So make sure that your database queries are as low as possible, and importantly, aren't increasing. They're constant. So if you've got 1,000 courses, you don't want to be doing a query per course. And that was one of the major performance improvements done in Moodle 1.9 by Martin Langhoff and the Catalyst RT people. If you're improving performance, please record and share the results on the tracker. Sometimes people improve performance dramatically and they don't tell us the results, and that's a really, we love integrating performance improvements. So do make sure that you make it clear. Profile your performance changes. Tim Hunt recently wrote a blog post about it. I've linked it there. We have XHProf integration in Moodle, which you can just, when you've got the PHP extension installed, you can just add a flag to any request and it will profile it and it will store it in Moodle, and you can compare different runs against each other and see how you're improving things. Please make sure to use the cache API for adding caches. That was added in Moodle 2.4. We won't be accepting people's own custom caches. So the main problems that come about with performance are people using database queries in loops or widely called functions. So in this example, you've got for every course and every student in that course do a database query. Well, a student could be in multiple courses, so that could be a ridiculous amount of queries. That really does make a dramatic difference. Try and avoid loading large amounts of data into RAM. So be careful about loading all the users into a PHP object. You can use getRecordSet way to iterate on a large data set in a memory efficient way. Security is really too big a subject to cover here, but I'm just mentioning things that you should be aware of. You need to be aware of optional param and required param, or using formslib to validate user input. You should be aware of the param types for cleaning, and cross-site request forgery protection using session keys, and then the various string output functions like S, simple text, format string, multi-line content, format text, the filtered HTML content. Like I say, it's too much to fit into here. Another thing to be aware of is if you're working on a security issue, our process for dealing with security bugs is different. I've linked it from the slides. There's a comment about it at the bottom of the process page. But the summary is to have responsible disclosure. We restrict access to security issues, and we request that you don't put your code anywhere publicly and attach it as a patch. And we will release it along with our time-based release cycles, along with the point release. Common problems people have with security, they'll forget session keys. So an example might be you write a script which turns a setting on or off. You don't use forms lib, it's just a script that you request. That needs to have cross-site request forgery protection in the form of a session key. So you add the session key to the URL, and you validate that in the function. Another pitfall people fall into is incorrect use of the param types. There are a lot of them, and it can be quite difficult to understand. The best advice I can give is to study the top of Moodle and be careful with format text. Its name suggests it's plain text, but actually it's plain text with multi-line content. So it's things that should be, it's things like titles which allow multi-line to be used. Internationalization. Moodle's got a lot of languages and a strong multilingual community. Remember to use getString for strings. It's pretty straightforward. But be careful about how you introduce strings. Remember to use user date for times. That will format the time in a locale specific way. And with floating point numbers, with decimal places, you need to use format float and unformat float because some languages will use commas rather than periods. And consider right-to-left languages in your CSS and design. So, worth testing your changes on a right-to-left language just to see how it formats itself. Make sure that you use phrases in strings and don't concatenate strings because that doesn't work for translators. They need phrases. Don't use the same string in different contexts. I don't know why I left this till the end, but one of the biggest focuses we've got in Moodle over the last 2 years is an increase in testing for regressions, and just improving all our frameworks. So we've got a unit test framework using PHP unit, which is much different to the old simple test environment. The environment is reset between tests, and there are data generators to allow you to easily create a test data, and there's lots of assertions. So I'd really encourage you to look into that. We're going to be requiring unit tests for new code quite soon. And just in Moodle 2.5, we've introduced a acceptance testing framework using BHAT. So here the tests are written in English, and executed automatically in the browser environment. So I've got a little demo of that for you. So this is a B-hat test. So as you can see, it is setting up some information, creating the user, presenter one, which is me, creating a course, the iMoot course, and then enrolling me into the course. So that's the setup of the course, and then we run through things that we want to do. So we log in as that user, we follow that course, so we go to that course, we turn editing on, create a forum. So I will show you that. I think when time is usually overrunning. Whilst I'm setting this up, has anyone got any questions? So that file that I was just showing you, I've put I've included that in this Moodle code here, and I'm just going to run vhat, which is running the text that I've got on that slide there. So I'll start that off now. So we've got this opened up a browser, and I'm not doing any of this. It might be going a little bit too fast for the presentation, the screen sharing to keep up. Here we're logging in as presenter one, clicking on the iMoot course, click on turn editing on. Now we click on add an activity, select forum. Now fills in the forum editing form with the content, which I think is iMoot forum, and just some text in the and we go back to the course, and it's created that forum. So it's simulating what a user would do in a real browser environment. And there we've got the one scenario, one pass, 9 steps. So do that. This is the scenario that I had on the screen here. And I could change that, and it would do different things. And the really key thing about it is that it can be written in English. It doesn't need technical understanding necessarily to construct. So the major problems that people have with testing is just no tests at all. Consider using test-driven development for new code. That's one way of combating that. So that's where you would write unit tests or acceptance tests first, and then write the code to fulfill those tests. It's actually quite a good way of designing. Excuse me. It's quite a good way of designing coding, into small chunks. And in Moodle Core, we're going to become stricter about this over time. Because we've got these tests running automatically every day now, so every day we run every single unit test, and every day we run every single acceptance test. We can improve the quality of the Moodle release and continue to make it stable. So we really are going to encourage that over time. Be careful about adding complex logic into tests. The test should just be straightforward. I do this, not if I do this, then I should do this. There should only be one route for them to go down. There's a book called X Unit Patterns, I think, there, which has some what they call test smells for things that are not great practice in unit testing. And there is a bit of a learning curve to setting up the tools. We've got quite a bit of documentation on it. Please follow the documentation. If it doesn't work, help us to improve it. It's not ridiculously complex, but it is different. So for that BHAT test that I just showed you, you need to install Selenium, which is a piece of software which drives Firefox to start clicking around like a normal user, and BHAT itself as well. Just some final bits and pieces that I didn't fit into other is when you're submitting code to core, we do kind of assume quite a bit of knowledge of Git and how to create a Git branch, and we also ask for good commit messages in your code. When you're creating bug fixes and any changes, in fact, we must maintain backwards compatibility. Again, coming back to we're building a platform that should be stable, so you can't go around just removing a function without telling anyone, and that kind of thing. And when we're fixing bugs, we need to support the last 3 versions in support specified in the releases page. So that means it's a little bit different thing a bug, because you have to consider multiple versions and test that the fix works on all these versions. But having said all of this, please don't be put off from contributing your code if you can't do what I suggest. Moodle HQ are there to sort of support and help these contributions make it into the Moodle releases. So we can do things like create different branches for different versions and write unit tests and things like that. But all of these things that I've been talking about, they take quite a lot of effort, and time. So that's what we're there to help with. But if you can do it, then it increases your chances of us being able to integrate the change. And that's it.
Hi, Dan. Other people will probably comment in the chat, but I got to say that was a really good presentation. I've done some development in Moodle, and definitely in the testing can appreciate what you guys are trying to do. So hats off.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry. I hope that I've kind of given you a bit of pointers, and sorry if it's been a bit fast. EDC team, Moodle, we're not planning a Moodle 3, which is like Moodle 2. So for the time being, the Moodle releases will continue to be just iterative improvements and not breaking major things like Moodle 2 did. I don't think we're ever going to do that again. And I'll put the presentation, the PDF, probably on SlideShare and on the course.
Let me jump in here. It's Shane again, just to say thanks, Dan. Really appreciate your time and all the effort you actually put into that. I was just watching it in the background there and got some great tips and hints and things. And yeah, as Fred alluded to, there'll be a recording of all this anyway. So yeah, but if you can put your PDF up, that'd be great as well. But yeah, thanks once again from all of us. It was awesome.